My mom always said, Liz, people are always doing the best that they can in any given time. So however they're showing up, they're not showing up going, oh, I'm going to do kind of okay. I'm going to show up and just do not my best.
Right.
No, everyone's just showing up, doing the best they can at any given moment.
Right.
So having a sense of compassion from where they're coming from or where you were coming from. If you showed up and the way you showed up you didn't think was so great, have compassion. You did the best you could at that given time. And now you can choose again to do even better.
Hey, and welcome to Get Loved Up Podcast. Today I'm here with Liz Edlich, and she is a light. I remember the first time I saw her, I was just captivated by her spirit, her grace, and we just had like an energetic, almost spiritual connection. So I'm so happy to bring her here with you today to just really deep dive and talk about just getting through adversity and what you've been through in your life and how you've been very radical and how you've been radical in your love and really sharing that with our community. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be sharing with you. And you're right, the minute we met, we had a radical connection because we were really about making a difference. And that's where we connected. So we knew that there was a purpose and passion much greater than ourselves. And I think that's where that connection, and that's really what has driven myself and my sister with writing our book, Get Radical, and our
we have that right here, Get
do.
Radical. Secrets to Creating a Life You Love.
That's right.
How is that possible? How is it possible when you hit bottom? Because we know how it's possible. You just look at the up, but I want you to take us through your journey and take us through the times when it wasn't so, but it was radically hard.
So, Koya, I think that anybody that is achieving success or has success, we've got a pretty crazy patchwork past, right? Because failure, which there really isn't failure, it's just the ups and downs. I mean, people think that success looks like this, but it's really like this.
A roller coaster.
Right? Or coming up, we're going down, we're going up, we're going down. And it's just getting to where we want to go. So it's embracing your adversity. And that's really hard to do in the moment. Like when people say, oh, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And you just want to go, because they're saying it when you're like rock bottom.
Right.
It's like, I so didn't need that right now.
Right.
However, I think there is a lot to that because when I look at the times of my life, the most recent one was the Malibu fires.
Right.
And that was a really traumatic experience. And I'd actually had a premonition for years and years and years. Whenever I would see someone where there was a fire in California and their houses were burned or, people had lost everything, I used to just not even be able to breathe. And I had this sense that was going to happen. It was going to affect me at some point in my life. And sure enough, the fires happened and they said, oh, it won't jump. It won't jump PCH, and I'm in Point Doom. And, I left at 2:00 that day looking at smoke coming over my house. It went from daytime to nighttime just because of the smoke.
Wow.
And I'm walking in circles going, what do I want to take? You don't even know how to process because it is. When you're in trauma, processing is difficult.
Right.
But through it all, and I was one of the lucky, blessed ones because, yes, my roof burned and my kitchen burned and the entire perimeter of my landscape burned. And so that was really hard for me to see and to feel. And I was displaced from my home for a month. And I was crying a lot and I was really depressed. And at a point I didn't want to get out of bed. I mean, it was like, how could this be? I'm one of the lucky ones and it still is affecting me.
Right.
So what I've learned in my life, whether it's moving to Los Angeles because I was in a terribly abusive relationship for 3 years, and I just couldn't get away from it. So I moved not knowing a soul, and I end up here and live in a hotel and built my world all over again. But there's something about faith. So even like when the fires kind of burnt down so much of what I felt was in a neat little package.
Right.
That required me to have the resilience and the fortitude and the passion to build it again. So part of me felt apathetic, like I just don't have the energy, you know?
Right.
And so if you think about your life, sometimes when you're feeling down, you're like, I just don't know if I can do it again.
It's exhausted.
Right. So one of the things that I've learned, and we were so lucky to spend our, the time at the retreat at my home this weekend, is to have a purpose bigger than yourself. To be passionate about something bigger than you. To have a reason to get up in the morning bigger than just, mini me. That gives you strength, fortitude, energy, connection. So I had said I was unreasonable. So what is radical? Radical to me means going above and beyond because you can.
Right.
It means not accepting the unacceptable. It means saying yes when you would otherwise say no. It means pushing the boundaries.
And where did you say yes? That moment when your house is in shambles, you're exhausted. What was the moment that you switched and said, okay, I am exhausted, house is in shambles, but I need to say yes?
Well, I was saying yes, and sometimes I think it's like baby steps, right? So you just get up and you deal with what's in front of you that day. So I said yes every day to showing up. Sometimes just the showing up part is enough, because
it's the biggest part.
It is the biggest part. So sometimes you look at your journey and go, oh, how am I ever going to get it to here? That's like planting 192 trees and backhoes and bringing in dirt and grass and rock. I mean, it's just, roof. And it's so overwhelming. But if you just keep showing up and saying yes and taking that on, then the next day it's yes, but to a whole new slate of things that move you further down your path. And where I said yes was I got a call from Dina, who owns 3D PR and 3D Connect, which is an amazing agency, and which is why I met you. They said, look, we want to have a radical wellness retreat. And I was like, okay, yes. Because everyone had always said my house felt like it's a place for healing.
And it does. It's very beautiful.
It really does. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. And then, of course, I'd said yes. I committed. Now, many times in life, you commit to something, and then you might spend the next 48 hours going, what was I thinking? Am I insane?
Right.
I'm looking at dirt, boulders, no roof on my house, a blown out house with cardboard. And in 3 weeks, I'm going to have, 50 people in my home all weekend with an event. Who am I? But what was really fascinating about it is I made the commitment. I even called her back, like, hi, just kidding. I just want you to know the real door might not be in and the roof might not be done.
Right.
And she's like, no, that's good. I was like, how could that be good? Are you sure you don't want to rethink this? No, we're good. I'm like, I can't even get out of my own commitment.
Wow.
So I had to show up. And so then what did I do? I looked around me and I said, who can I get passion and agreement from? How do I enroll others to be about what we needed to accomplish?
Right.
And I had a team of people there so committed, round the clock, over Sundays. There were like 30 to 50 people a day at my house to get it done, because they all understood the drop dead date was the 29th. Period. It's like a wedding's going to occur. You can't change the date. And so it became a purpose and passion bigger than, okay, we're just doing landscaping. Okay, everyone got involved. Everyone got committed. Everyone had their deadline. And it was such a beautiful, touching thing to see everyone come together. And then, of course, meeting you and others where everyone really did feel that sense of healing. It did come together, not perfectly, but it created a space for people to take a breath, to have those parentheses. So, interestingly enough, in that burn, I was able to reinvent, but even better.
Wow.
I was able to say, okay, now that I've leveled the playing field here, meaning all the trees are gone, what would I do different? So maybe if you've had a radical burn through a relationship and you feel like you've gotten burnt and you feel like it's scorched earth, Well, now the beauty is you know what you didn't know. You know what you don't want.
Right.
So you're able to better create what you do want. So now you actually have the scorched earth to use that foundation to clear the field and start not anew, but from your new platform of knowledge, of experience. So you really have a huge opportunity. So adversity is really an opportunity.
I love that. It's like almost like you've turned adversity into an adventure.
That's
and
right.
Daily, this adventure, and you've had this team. And I think those two things that you said, the consistency and showing up every day.
That's right.
And having a team. I think those two things that people don't really do. They feel like I have to do it on myself. It's all on me. And once you do that, you burn out. So you can't be consistent. So those are amazing tips. And I'm definitely taking notes because I feel like you said, in relationships, and I kind of want to deep dive into that because you said you had an abusive relationship, and that's something that we haven't talked about on the show. But I'd love to know your advice because I've been in an emotionally abusive relationship and I was devastated. I really didn't know what to do. And what you've gone through that, like, can you share a little bit about your experience and kind of how you eventually got out?
Well, I think risk-taking, being willing to make mistakes is really, really important. Having a group of people, like-minded people that support you and support your dream is really important. So if you think about your time and your headspace is your real estate, who is renting your real estate?
Right.
Who are you allowing in your mind to use your time? Who are you allocating that to?
Right.
So when you start to see that the people around you, when you look around you and you see those people, understand that the 5 people around you are a reflection of who you are. And if you're not liking that makeup, it's time to edit. And that's hard, but you need to pull yourself away a bit so that you can start to reach out to mentors, to people that inspire you, people that are believing in what your future dream is or what your goals are, and are sharing that vision with you. Because we really need mentors and people and friends and support systems. The research shows the happiest people in the world have faith, have community, and connection.
Right.
Okay, so isolating when you're not feeling good, or if you're in a bad relationship, or you're going through a difficult time, like even what I was just discussing, with the fires, I felt so depressed. What do? I isolate. I didn't feel like, so it doesn't really matter how we feel. It matters what our commitment is.
Right.
So literally embracing other people that see the beauty of who you are and your vision. To be around people that complain and say things like, there are no good men out there anyway. I mean, why would I bother? That is so not where you want to go, because that's not supporting you. So if you're feeling stuck, it is those baby steps. So for me, I was in Virginia. Not that that's the only problematic relationship I've had, but I was literally, 25 when I moved to LA. And I'd been in this relationship and I just couldn't shake it.
Right.
Literally, I think I had a physical addiction to his approval. He was older than I was, and I think it became like a daddy thing, right? And so he pushed all those buttons. So I literally could sit next to the bed waiting for him to call, and I would shake.
Wow.
It was insane. And if he didn't call, I was just like, I couldn't breathe.
Wow.
And then he would, work his way back in, and then I'd give him another chance, and then the cycle would repeat. Believe it when they show you who they are. Believe it. And the only person that can make the difference and make the change is you.
Right.
It's up to you to take care of you.
So when was that moment where you realized, okay, I need to get out? Was it a big fight, or was it a friend telling you, or did it just click in your head?
So I was so used to it. I was so used to him I was like 114 pounds, and my nickname was Chubby.
What?
Yeah, 114. He called me, hey, Chubby.
Get out.
No.
I don't ever remember being 114 pounds.
Well, yeah, you're like 5'11" or 6'2" or something.
Maybe I was 5.
Yeah, there.
Wow. So he was calling you chubby.
He was calling me chubby. So that's the way he controlled me. So think out there. Think about when you're with that guy. Does he make you feel here? Does he promote and see your future and your and literally support who you are? Or is he trying to keep you feeling a little insecure and less than? Because that's control. Right. That's how a man that's insecure can control you or try to control you.
Right.
And what made me change is I had a mentor who was also my best friend and was my boss at the time. And she started crying when she saw how he was treating me. Wow. And she said, I just can't take it anymore. She's crying. And I'm like, why are you crying? Is it that bad?
Oh, gosh. Right.
I was so used to it. I was used to it.
Right.
And she's like, I can't take it anymore, Liz.
Wow.
And I was like, it's really that bad? And I said, I don't want you to cry.
Oh.
And so I said, okay, I got to go. I'm going to leave him because if you think it's that bad and I don't even feel it, it must be really bad. But for me, the only way I could really like go cold turkey is I moved 3,000 miles away.
Wow. That's what it took.
That's what it took for me.
Right.
And after that, he tried to commit suicide. I went back just to, make sure he was okay. And, came back out here. But I literally moved. I lived in a hotel. I didn't know anybody. I transferred. I was a stockbroker, investment counselor back then. And I said, if I can make it here, I can make it anywhere. And I was looking at palm trees. I said, well, maybe I'll go to LA. It'll feel like a vacation. When I was a kid, we used to go down to like Florida and I'd see the palm trees. I like, it must be a vacation.
Wow.
So it was literally, I had to make a serious move,
right?
And take a serious risk and have faith. And every time I've done something or had something really bad or what I feel is pretty bad happen, it really has been an opportunity when I believe that I've been divinely led, right? And I have to turn it over to something bigger than me. I have to, give it up to God. It is what it is, accept it, harvest the good, and forgive the rest.
And do you feel like you've forgiven this situation completely?
And he doesn't even own any of my real estate anymore. He doesn't own any of my real estate. What was really fascinating when you're looking for a relationship or trying to manifest or create a relationship, one of the things that's so powerful, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, whether it's the home, it's being intentional and goal setting and visualization. So why do we talk about visualization? We do it because our mind thinks in images. It doesn't think in words. So if I say to you cat, you think of a cat, right? Like the image of a cat. You don't go C-A-T. If I say ocean, you have an image of an ocean, not O-C-E-A-N. So the vision boards and things like that, when you hold an image in your mind and you get emotionally involved with that possibility, and you start to match that emotion and feel that emotion with what it is that you want, and you feel it and see it in the present tense, then you ignite a high vibration. So people talk about the law of attraction, but the law of attraction actually starts with a law of vibration. So however we're vibrating, however we're feeling in the world, we attract more of that feeling. That's why it's so important to stay with upbeat people. Feed our mind. It's you're either going to grow weeds in there or you're going to grow fruits. It's important to feed our mind with positive things, which is knowledge. You can never learn or drink enough information in that supports you on your journey. That's why what you're doing with this podcast is so amazing, to bring like-minded individuals that have something that they want to share to help people move down their path of inspiration and their dreams.
Absolutely. And I feel like, what about that person who, like you, is in that relationship and is like, I'm so hypnotized by the addiction of this relationship, and they see like, okay, this person is negative, they're bringing me down. It could be their lover, it can be maybe their parents, it could be a friend. So what advice do you have them if maybe they can't move to California?
That's right.
What are some things that you feel like that they can do to really process those emotions and maybe come to a healthier space? Is it possible to stay in those relationships, or do you feel like, no, you have to delete, edit, move away from those? Or is it possible to be in those and be healthy? Honesty too. This is raw. There's no right or wrong answer, but
I mean, I think if you're being physically abused, you've got to
exit.
You've got to exit because it's too dangerous.
But what about emotional abuse? Isn't that
just as bad?
Yeah.
And part of it's loving yourself enough to want to make the change. That's the most difficult part. Like, I loved my girlfriend more than I loved me.
That's so important, because I think we all have that. And sometimes that saves us, and it saved you. You loving someone else helped you love yourself.
Yeah, I loved her so much that I said, she's that hurt because what I'm doing to me.
Right.
I'm allowing this guy to be abusive to me, and she can't stand it. Oh my God, I love her so much. I don't want her to hurt. So I had to actually do it for her.
Right.
Before I could even do it for me, because I didn't love me enough. So it's, for me, I think, in my experience, it's baby steps, right? So every day we try to move in the direction of our best self and our highest self.
Right.
But when, not only a person, but our parents may have, not everyone's had great mentors. That's why instead of just looking at your mom or your dad, you may have to step out, and many of us step out and identify mentors that are not in that family circle that you can depend on, that you want to emulate, right? Or that are going to say things that help to support and serve you. But if you're in a relationship where someone is cutting you down, making you feel insecure, not that they're making you, but saying things, and you're choosing to have agreement with them, it's really important for you to take your power back.
Right.
And say, thank you for sharing. That whether it's your own, I call them gremlins, right? So I've got the negative self-talk. So when someone, it's like, who's going to be the conductor in the train? You're going down the tracks. And are you going to get back and drive your train down the tracks, or is it just going to kind of be driving itself? So I have these little gremlins that'll sit there and go, oh my God, like just going into this event. It's like, I can't even, oh my God, there's going to be so many photographs taken, and I'm like, I'm 7 pounds more than I want to be, and everyone's going to be so flawless and pretty, and they know how to do all these selfie poses, and they're all these hot chicks, and go, oh my God, why am I even doing this?
Right.
Thank you for sharing. So I just have to swipe that gremlin,
right,
all that negative self-talk off of me,
right,
and actually do a radical reset and go, thank you for sharing. I'm not here to be I'm not perfect.
Right.
I am perfectly imperfect.
That's beautiful. I like that radical reset. When that negative self-talk comes in, just a radical reset. That is so beautiful. Because I think we all have that sometimes, like that negative self-talk where you judge yourself or you compare yourself to others. And we are all uniquely beautiful in our own way. And I feel like having more mentors like yourself, just say, because people can look at you and say, oh, she's so gorgeous and successful and the same things. And I feel like a lot of people look outside of themselves for the definition of beauty instead of inside themselves for the definition of beauty, because we all have our own unique definition of beauty that we have. So you're able to go here and be like, okay, I'm going to do it anyway. And how did that feel when you actually met these women and spent time? And I know when I met you, I just felt loved. I felt loved. I felt affirmed. I felt your heart was so big. You hugged me like I was your sister. Well, you probably hug your sister. I don't know how you hug your sister, but I felt like I knew you. And so I definitely felt no barrier to love. And so can you share kind of how your heart felt, actually being at the event?
So for me, it's so not about me. And when we get out of our own way,
right,
And what was my purpose? My purpose was to love.
Right.
You know, we all have a word. My word was radical. And in the book, we talk about radical love, radical kindness, radical desire, radical purpose, radical passion, radical visualization, etc. So I knew that day it couldn't be about me. It had to be all about how can I love you? How can I serve you? So when the purpose becomes bigger than our little self, we really can show up in the most beautiful way. And so you gave me the opportunity to step out of my little self, of my fear, of my insecurity, of my negative self-talk, of my blah, 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 why I'm not enough, why all these things, and just let it all be about how can I love you? How can I give to you? How can I support you?
That's beautiful.
And I think in every day, if we're looking for the opportunities to give and love another, give to and love another, the opportunities are endless.
Right.
And whenever we do that, we're really the ones that get the gift.
That's so true.
You know, I got the gift.
Right.
Everyone else felt like they were getting the gift. I got the gift. Because it renewed and re-sparked that passion of what is my purpose on the planet?
Right.
Why do I have these blessings? Why do I have a beautiful home that was rebuilt? Why? Because I get to share it. I really believe what good is an asset if you don't share it?
Right.
Because you really have no legacy. A really interesting exercise is to write your own eulogy.
Oh, goodness. I don't think I've ever done that. You've done that?
Oh, yeah. It's pretty crazy because what are people going to say about you
When you're gone.
when you're gone?
Do you remember what yours says?
Yeah, well, it definitely will make you like snap to and start to be the self that you want to have and leave your legacy.
Right.
Right? Like,
Okay.
who am I?
I'm going to put that
And
on
who
my
am
to-do.
who am I showing up as? What would people say about me?
That's deep.
Yeah, and I think it's a great exercise to do.
Okay, I'm gonna and I think I have a phobia of death. I don't think I deal with death well. I haven't had a lot of death around me, but my grandma was like my mother because I stayed with her every summer, and my grandfather, and they both passed, and I couldn't even process it. I still talk to them. I really didn't even process the physical death at all because I was always just away from them and then with them. So even when I wasn't with them physically and they were physically on the planet, I still have the same communication. I never went to see my grandma when she was sick, which is kind of sad. The first time I cried was at the funeral. Even after she passed, seeing her in the casket it was super scary for me because I was like, this isn't real. I have a very interesting relationship with death. And so what do you feel like is the real connection when it comes to people? And do you feel like our spirits are eternally connected, or it's over when we're gone?
I mean, we're all just energy. And these are our body bags.
Right.
And we're going around in body bags, and we go through, our youth in a youthful body bag, and then our body bag starts to age, and we start to get wiser and more beautiful inside and out. And it's what we're sharing and who we are on the planet that keeps living on.
Right.
And energy can neither be created or destroyed. So it's Koya's vibration and energy that remains in my view of the world. It's just the body bag may not be the same.
Right.
May not be the same image that it shows up as.
Right.
So for me, I have seen so many signs in my life with those that have passed to the other side that still show up as my angels. A friend of mine said to me, she says, Elizabeth, you be careful what you say because you never know when the angels are going to be listening and say amen. And it really makes you conscious of what you're thinking, what you're saying. And I can tell you, I ask those beings and those angels, my mom passed 2 days before this event. So when you talk about radical perseverance,
Wow.
property burned, said the radical yes to doing a retreat, wanted to backpedal, didn't know how I was going to make it and do it, prayed a lot, called on anyone and everyone to get totally involved and be part of a team. And then 48 hours before the event was supposed to take place, my mom passed away.
Wow. Have you, I'm sorry to hear that. Have you even had a chance to process it? I mean,
it was really interesting because my sister and I sat with her for about 3.5 hours as we were waiting for the funeral home to come and, pick her up and take her. And it was, she looked peaceful, but she was just so cold, and I was like trying to warm her up and hold her and kiss her. And I was just talking to her. I said, we all talked to her and we prayed, and I had my girlfriend Diane Cannon call and do a prayer, and we had somebody come in and do a prayer, and I had my brother who's in Minnesota, we had him on the line, and with the phone right by her, so he could hear. And so it was really a sweet, loving moment. And of course, I cried and cried and cried, that night, like something that just, I was undone. An interesting thing happened to me, and I was still sad the next morning. I was praying, and I lit a candle, and I said, Mom, here's to light your way. I'm not going to turn this candle off. And the next day when people started to find out, and I wasn't telling, but my sister had actually posted, and so then people started.
Right.
I still haven't even posted anything about it. And what was really interesting is a couple of friends of mine, a person that I haven't spoken to for 3.5 years because we had a bit of a falling out. He started sending me photos of me and my mom from years back.
Wow.
And all the experiences that we had together. And when I saw her, and I saw she had dementia, when I saw the light in her eyes, when I saw her energy, when I saw her vivacious brilliance, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, that's where she needed to be. She needed to be free. So it was interesting. I raised my vibration around her passing and got very peaceful about, she may not be in that body bag, but the body bag wasn't serving her anymore.
Right.
And she needed to be free. So I had a real sense of peace about that.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
When I was leaving the home that she was in, the memory care facility, that night and driving home, I put my house on the GPS. And 1111, a lot of times they say that angels and will talk through numbers, right? Because maybe you can't hear them, but they can give you a sign. You can look for energetic signs around. Right. 1111 is one of mine, and I know many people on the planet have seen or felt the same. So repeating sequences of numbers. And I pushed the GPS on my cell phone to go home. And of course, I'm thinking, my mom's going home. And when I pushed it, it said arrival 1111.
Wow.
So I was like, all right, she's going home.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. It was good though, Like it's sometimes I think faith is so important. Knowing there's something bigger than yourself. That you can, prayer is amazing how it gets answered.
Right.
And I think it's the combination of emotion and intention and asking for help. So just like if you're in that abusive relationship, it's asking for help. You need to have a community and ask for help. I asked people to get my house back together. I asked for help. When I left my relationship in Virginia, moved to LA, I asked for help. That's so and I used to, the way I grew up, being the firstborn, and my dad was very, very tenacious, and it was kind of like the never enough. Like, Elizabeth, you can be the president of the United States one day. I was like, Dad, I don't want to be the president. I don't want that job.
Right.
But the pressure, I never felt enough,
Right.
And so part of it is reparenting and loving ourselves through it.
Right.
And letting it be okay, letting our mistakes, love ourselves enough to let our mistakes be okay. Because people think, well, I'm not ready to make a decision. Okay, like maybe you're in a relationship and you're saying, well, I'm not ready to make a decision. My dad used to always say, well, if you can't make a decision, you're probably not ready to make one. Mm-hmm. But the reality is I made one, right? Every time you don't make a decision, you made a decision. Mm-hmm. So if I say, well, I'm not ready to make a decision. No, excuse me, you just made a decision to stay.
Right. Absolutely. That's so important for people to think about, because a lot of people feel like they're waiting for a sign, or they're waiting, but even waiting is a decision.
That's a decision.
I love that.
Do I want to go to the gym? I don't feel like going to the gym. Mm-hmm. I just can't decide if I'm going. You just decided.
Right. You're staying home.
If you're sitting there and you haven't gone to the gym, you made a choice to not go to the gym. Right. So being in choice is really important. That's where the power comes from. Knowing you are choosing every single minute.
Right.
What is showing up, because you're choosing it.
Yes.
Every minute's a choice. And people sit in the bleachers instead of getting down on the field and playing, thinking that I'm not making a decision. Oh yeah, You did. You just chose to sit in the bleachers and not get on the field and play full out, which you know about.
Right.
From Absolutely. Your sports and your career there. It's like you had to either be on the field and playing full out and risking defeat or failure or losing.
But it's like you're taking responsibility for your reality, like radical responsibility. Is that one of your, then like taking responsibility? Because I feel like a lot of us put it on like society or our parents or our partners. But what I'm feeling from you talking right now is like you have the power to make a decision in every moment. Your decision, or even thinking you're not making a decision, is still a decision. That's powerful.
I think it is. I think a decision, and people don't think they're making a decision or don't do something because they're afraid to make a mistake.
Right.
And literally statistics show that the most successful people in the world make the most mistakes.
Yes.
But guess what? You can decide, and it's a mistake, and then you have the power to choose again. And now you know better from what you just learned. So it's like you're leaving a relationship and we have this, I'm starting all over.
Right.
No, you're not. Now you know what you don't want. If you're sitting there looking for a relationship, I implore you to take a pen to paper and write down every single thing that you want. Get so specific. Like, so specific. Because when you're specific, literally you are setting that vibration and that intentionality into motion, and it will start to arrive. It is just the law of the universe.
Right, because now you have a healthy relationship.
I do. And I'm in the process of a divorce.
Are you?
So I literally wrote out this list I'm telling you about. I had left a relationship, and this was 25 years ago. So you can only imagine, 25 years with one person.
Right.
And then now I'm going to actually be getting a divorce. Are you kidding me? I mean, that was brutal.
Right.
Crazy brutal.
Right.
Really depressing. Really challenging for my identity. Really challenging for like the vision of what was to be.
Right.
But what I found out is that part of being my best self and part of where my journey is, the current conditions needed to change in order for me to express myself in my future. And so if we look at change as an opportunity to be a more expressed person and express more of who we really are, right? Every moment, that is where the secret lies. So instead of it being like, I mean, believe me, I've had days where I didn't want to get out of bed. You just can't even believe it. Like hyperventilating, crying. Okay, like really bad. Like nothing matters. When you go, it's like, I don't care.
Right.
I don't care. It's like such a defense. I don't care. I don't care about anything anymore. I don't care.
How do you get yourself out of the bed when you're feeling like that?
Baby steps.
Baby steps. Just one foot out.
One thing. Do one thing. Read positive things. Talk to somebody. Express yourself. I do, like, you met Allie yesterday.
Yes.
She's amazing.
She's amazing.
I work with healers. I do pranic healing with different people. I mean, it's about self-love.
Right.
And that's even with our skincare. every single one of our products, it was designed for the most sensitive skin, but the most potent skincare. And every single one of our products has a self-care attribute to it. So let's say when you're using your eye cream, you're going to focus on visualization. Right. You're going to anchor the vision of what you want. So not is it just dealing with puffiness, dark circles, wrinkles, and hydration. You're going to connect it with what is that vision, and I'm going to see it like a movie in my mind, and I'm going to feel what that feeling is like when I am living that.
Right.
Or exfoliating, taking away the dead skin, wiping away in that moment the fears, the little gremlin in the ear telling you what you're not all right about, doing that, using things. So having anchors in your life, exercise is extraordinarily important. Moving, shifting your state.
Right.
Get out of the house, walk. Make yourself do something.
Right.
Baby steps. Call a friend when you don't want to. Say yes to something you don't want to do. So one of the things, one of the first chapters in the book is the radical yes.
Right.
So if you think of yourself as like a rocket ship and you're getting ready to take off, if every time you say yes when you ordinarily might say no, you think of it as a 1 degree shift. 1 degree, 1 degree, 1 degree. So yes, 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 yes. The rocket will go in such a different direction, and you're going to end up in a totally different place because of the yeses in your life.
Right.
So as often as you can say yes and embrace new possibility and embrace new situations, you're able to learn more, grow more, expand your network, and create a different reality because you said yes.
That's beautiful. And so what is the next chapter for you? Because you've taken us on a whole roller coaster, like your evolution of who you are, going through these, as you said, roller coasters. So,
well, that's really interesting. So you are this weekend was really transformational for me, right? So I'm giving the gift. People are like, oh, you're opening your house to us. Oh, you're letting people live in your home. You're having an entire event there. You're offering all these different mentors and people that have expanded your life, and you're sharing the wealth of their goodness and energy with us. Thank you so much, right? And my vision and my goal was always to do this. And Radical Skincare, when my sister and I created Radical, we did it for ourselves. We never intended to sell it. And my sister had we had created a lot of skincare. We'd been in the business 15 years and created skincare for celebrities and people and infomercials and retail and you name it. And then when my sister developed rosacea, and her face was red and inflamed with bumps, and I developed adult acne and hormonal craziness. Because our dad had the access to some of the best scientists in the whole world. He created steri strips, those little strips that close, like if you have a cut, instead of sutures, you put the little strips.
Right.
My dad developed that, and he gave it to 3M.
Wow.
Without a royalty. That was $1 billion mistake.
Wow.
But that's proof he's a doctor.
Wow.
But we had access to the best scientists, so we created a skincare line that had a technology that allowed us to put antioxidants, reparatives, and soothing agents in this, like, think of it as bubble wrapping it.
Right.
So it delivers to your skin, and it can soothe and calm your skin while it's got the anti-aging ability of reducing wrinkles and evening your skin tone and reducing redness and stopping breakouts. So we created it, and we were just going to use it for ourselves. So we had it in vats, big things that we'd get from the manufacturer, and we'd be scooping it out into bottles, and we'd write eye cream, this and that, and it started changing our skin. People stopped me on the street for the first time. We're like going, excuse me, what do you use on your skin? I'm thinking, okay, is this a cosmic joke? Come on, really. And then my sister's rosacea went away. And she had been on topical antibiotics and oral. And one night I woke up in the middle of the night, so you look at being divinely led, and I went, this is radical. Now my dad had multiple sclerosis. So he literally, for 50% of his career, was immobile in a wheelchair from the neck down.
Wow.
But he still wrote 3,000 peer-reviewed journal articles.
Wow.
And that was radical.
Mm-hmm.
So he was changing the world and the landscape of medicine from a wheelchair. So if he could do that, how could we have created something for ourselves, a little selfish moment, because we had access to all this stuff. How could we create that and not share it with people?
Right.
Because the skin is really, it's our largest organ, and it's what walks in before we do many times. And we decided, you know what is our legacy? What does our eulogy look like? Is it that I did another, deal, or because I was an investment banker, I raised more money? No.
Right.
I want it to be that we changed people's skin and changed people's lives. So we created Radical. And in 3 years, it went from Barney's, New York to over 900 stores in 17 different countries in 3 years. We traveled the world. We were, and on my vision board was traveling, inspiring people. We were doing motivational seminars all over the world, showing them skincare and self-care. And then we said, as we know, retail, it's like, what's retail? Because now everyone's buying online.
Right.
And we said, how do we take what we have and this asset, this company, this opportunity, how do we give that back? What's our legacy? If you look at the difference between keeping people in school and not in school, it's about $1,200 a year. $1,200 is the difference for someone being educated or not. And I was asked to do the commencement speech at Old Dominion University. And first person in the entire generation of a family to graduate.
Right.
It's 45% of the school body at Old Dominion. 10,000 people were in the stadium, and I found out that 45% of the school, it's their first person in the family to ever go to college and graduate.
Wow.
And so there's something called Bridge the Gap. And so we're talking about everyone deserves a radical win. It's the Women's Initiative Network. So a radical win in life. So we're taking a portion of the proceeds of Radical and keeping people in school. But then we said, how can we take this even further?
Right.
What if we took the assets of our company and we shared them with other people so they could actually make a business of it, or just by the power of them referring it, could keep a percentage of all the proceeds for themselves, and or allocate a portion of the proceeds to what they're personally passionate about, whatever that might be.
So you're creating community.
We're creating community, and we're sharing the wealth of Radical skincare with others. And so we're talking about radical sisters and misters on a mission to make a radical difference in the world. And right now we're really working with just an original group and attracting a circle of founding ambassadors that will be out there that are not just radical from skincare, but have the opportunity to empower. So our next book will be stories from people such as yourself that are there to inspire others to create a radical life that they love. And we'll do it with their skin. We're starting with skincare, and we're going to be expanding and really creating more of a movement.
Right. These radical wellness retreats.
Yeah.
Which I feel like, especially for women who are entrepreneurs and love taking care of others like yourself, and take care of others sometimes more than they take care of themselves.
Totally.
I think taking care of their skin and taking care of their body, I feel like that is so important, but so often forgot. And I feel like that was addressed when we came to the wellness retreat this weekend through, massage and pool time. And, some people might have been just there for a selfie, but I think some people came for the experience of, and I feel like you have that duality. We're all on different paths in life. And one way I got really real with myself is to realize that it's okay. It's okay if someone came for one thing and you came for another, but you guys are meeting together and having this experience together. And that's what I felt. And I feel like with this community that you're creating, you're giving people the opportunity to choose how they want to be radical And that is amazing.
Yeah, it's
So
your
amazing.
self-expression, because radical is going to mean something to everyone. But
Right.
one thing it does mean is when we're radical, we don't accept the unacceptable. So we don't accept abuse, physical abuse,
Right.
emotional abuse. Think of how you would treat, what would happen if someone was treating your child that way?
Right.
What would you do?
Right.
So if you don't like the way, look at how you're being treated. Would you allow your child to be treated that way?
Right.
Would you allow your girlfriend to be treated that way?
And if the answer is no,
You've got to love yourself. And if you, it's a journey, right? To love
Right.
ourselves enough to actually honor ourselves. But sometimes you have to see it through the eyes of another. You have to be your own mother, your own best friend, and make choices. If you can't do them for yourself, you do it with the lens of what you would do for another.
I like that. I like that because sometimes it's really hard when you're a caretaker and you can't, you're not, I used to love others to the detriment of myself.
Yeah.
All of the time. And it was addictive. Like you said in this relationship, loving others. And like this woman said, maybe you should go to like love therapy or something like this. It was funny. I was like, they have that? She was like, yeah, love addiction. And I was like, yeah, I don't think it's that serious. But I definitely love others to the detriment of myself sometimes. But I learned that I have to love myself first. And when I learn to do that, I will stop putting myself in abusive relationships, in situations that I then say, why did I do this in the first place? And it comes from just wanting to love and be loved, I think. And with you sharing like your mission and your purpose, I feel like you loving others is also loving yourself at the same time. And one question that we ask every single person that comes on the podcast is, how do you get loved up? How do you love yourself? How do you love others? And how do you love the planet?
Well, one thing I think is a really easy quiz to take is the 5 love languages quiz.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've taken it.
I have.
That's really fascinating because it's a very simple way to find out through this quiz. It takes, 5 minutes. How do I feel loved?
Right.
So for me, it's physical touch and acts of service. Meaning when someone does something kind for me, that makes me feel loved. I like touch. I hugged you when you came in. For me, touch is healing.
Right.
So I touch others. That's how I show love. Okay? And then you've got acts of service, you've got words of appreciation, you've got gifts, and you've got quality time. Those are the 5 categories. And you may think you know what they are, but it's really worth taking this quiz, because what you'll find out is many times how you feel loved is not how your partner feels loved.
Right.
Therefore, you're asking someone to love you in a way. So if their love language of touch is like number 3rd or 4th down there,
right,
that I'm going to constantly want them to love me up in a way that they don't even understand love.
Right.
Doesn't mean anything to them. They prefer quality time and lots of words, which is great, but that would be a better match for them if they found someone that could love the same.
Right.
So I think one thing is finding, even with a friendship, right, where we connect, or where the person that we're with or the friend we're with loves us in a way we can understand it. So I think one thing in loving ourselves is the knowledge of expanding the knowledge we have about ourselves, so that we know ourselves enough to know what is it that we want and need to feel loved.
I love that. That is the first answer that I've got. Loving yourself is getting to know yourself. Because so often how can someone else love us if we don't even know how to love ourselves?
And if we don't know what we want.
We don't know what we want. But
You gotta know what you want.
That is so good. Because
I want to be touched. I want to be hugged. I want somebody to do some little thing for me. It doesn't have to be a big thing.
Right.
But if you're not that, if you want to give me gifts all the time, so I have a girlfriend that gives me gifts all the time. Well, that must be her love language.
Right. Because a lot of times you do what your love language is.
Exactly.
Thinking
That's how they're
another
feel
person.
love.
Exactly.
So I said to myself, if I love her, I have to figure out what her love language is. So now when I see her, I bring a little gift.
And she loves it.
And she loves it. She's delighted. But it's not my love language.
But you found out
But
hers.
I found out hers. So that's in a relationship. Like, what's your love language? How can I love you? How can I make you feel loved and appreciated?
Right.
And knowing myself enough to know, what does love look like to me?
That's beautiful. So you find out other people's love language, but do you also communicate your love language to them, or how does that work? How do they know your
For a
love
man,
language?
for sure.
Okay.
Because, I mean, remember, when you're not starting over, you're just starting better.
Okay.
You're starting from a better place than you were in, because now you know what you don't want as well as what you do want.
Right.
Right? So that gives you're going, oh, okay, that doesn't work.
Right.
I can learn from that. I don't need to go see that movie again. I got that. Now I get to do it in a different way. So knowing your love language, I think, is important for yourself. And if it comes to, and I actually tell whomever, I have as many friends as possible, take that. Then I know how to better love them.
Right.
Why wouldn't I?
I think it's so important. So important. And we have the same love language as well, like acts of service and personal trust.
Oh, it is?
Oh,
okay. Well, no wonder.
And that's why we bonded right away, because
Right.
we were like hugging, touching,
Right.
welcoming. I'm in your home. Like, you know, I gave you a book, you went and gave, and it was just like we were doing, and we had just met. A lot of people are like super reserved, like, I don't know you, I don't know who you are, but it's like we went straight to like that openness space, and I think
That's
that
right.
created the bond, which is why you're sitting here today.
Yeah, you had
Yeah.
that book. You said, well, I didn't know how I was going to give it to, but I think I was meant to give it to you.
Right.
As I was giving you my book.
It was
So we
amazing.
literally kept meeting and loving each other easily in the same way. So I think that is, you're right. That is why also, if you have a relationship
Right.
where you can somehow bridge the gap between those love languages, you're a happier person. And if you realize it's just not about you, like how they don't love you in the way you want to be loved,
Right.
it isn't about you. It's all about them.
Right.
It has nothing to do with you. Now the question is it enough for you? Right?
Is it enough?
So is it enough? And there's something about good enough,
Right.
and sometimes things can be good enough that you get enough value in it
Right.
to make it worthwhile. It's not going to be perfect, but it feels good, or it works for you long term at that given point. My mom always said, Liz, people are always doing the best that they can in any given time. So however they're showing up, they're not showing up going, oh, I'm going to do kind of okay. I'm going to show up and just do not my best.
Right.
No, everyone's just showing up doing the best they can at any given moment.
Right.
So having a sense of compassion from where they're coming from or where you are coming from. If you showed up and the way you showed up you didn't think was so great, have compassion. You did the best you could
Right.
at that given time. And now you can choose again to do even better.
I think that's so important. Have compassion for yourself, because I think often, especially as women, we beat ourselves up. Why did I do that? Why did I say that? Why did I, and I feel like we don't realize that we have to have just as much compassion for ourselves as we have for another person, because in that moment we were doing the best we could. So I love you
That's
bringing
right.
that back up to the table, because I definitely do it for sure. Like, I try to be good to everyone, but sometimes I mess up. I'm late. I forget to call. Like, I told a person that we had a schedule, and I told them at 10 o'clock I would let them know what room I was in. And I totally was so caught up in my day, I didn't let them know. So in the past, I beat myself. Oh, you forgot, and you should have let them know, and but instead I was like, I forgot. I should have let them know, my bad, acknowledge it, and then let it go.
Let it go.
But before, I would have felt bad all day. Like, I'm not a good person. I need to, I feel like we do that a lot as women. We take responsibility and we beat ourselves up. But I feel like that what you said, compassion for yourself. Have compassion for yourself. Forgive yourself. Bad relationships. Forgive yourself. You didn't know it was going to be abusive. You didn't know it was going to go to shambles, But a lot of times we beat ourselves up for even those relationships, toxic friendships and things like that. But it's like, it's not our fault. We didn't think it was going to be horrendous.
With social media and everything that you're dealing with, it's just such a new world out there.
Right.
And so maintaining your self-love can be, I can imagine, and I know it can be pretty challenging because many people are living a life, it's like a lot of play acting.
Right.
So I know I had a girlfriend that I was with, and she's, does a lot on social media and has a lot of people, and she was miserable. She was crying. She was suffering. She was having the worst time with her boyfriend. And then she was in a beautiful place with me on an island, and she's like, okay, will you take some shots of me here? And she's like, and I'm having such a good time. And she's like, oh, good. And like, oh my God.
For the photos?
Oh, yeah. I'm like, you're miserable. And I'm thinking, this is so crazy. You're going to act your way out of this. Okay, let's go with that. Okay, but now when at camera, I just think, to be happy, do I have to just keep taking photos of you? Because maybe you'll laugh your way out of this until there's a good enough shot. Okay, I got that. This is like the reverse thing. It was the craziest thing. I was like, so you're going to post that, and meanwhile, you're just feeling like absolute, just horrible. And meanwhile, you're going to show everyone how happy you are and carefree and you don't care and it's all so good. No, it is really bad right now.
Right.
But what about just saying, so it's become this world where we don't allow reality to sink in because it might not be pretty.
Right.
Reality at times isn't pretty.
It's not always pretty. It's rocky.
And it just is, it is not. So, but it's like having compassion for where we are. And I know my sister and I, we used to never cry, like because our dad was really hard driving. He was our mentor, and he also was very, very hard on us and demanding. And so we were always going to be strong, and we wouldn't cry no matter what. And I used to think, when I cry, I look so ugly. It's so ugly to have my face all squished up like that with tears and everything. So no one's going to get to me. No one can make me cry. And when I hit my 30s, I started realizing I had such a male side of myself to protect myself. I was smart and fast, and I was going to be tough and all of that.
Right.
That I didn't integrate my feminine with my masculine. So my growth pattern was to actually learn to cry.
Right.
To learn to be vulnerable. It's really beautiful when you're vulnerable.
And when you cry, I feel like tears are pain leaving the body, because we can keep it bottled up inside and even can cause disease and all these things in our body. But if you just cry it out, shout it out, sometimes it's allowed to release and express itself. So I'm glad you feel comfortable, to cry and showing that, because I did the same thing. I stopped crying for a long time. I was like, wow, I haven't cried in over 2 years, and I think as powerful, strong, driven women, sometimes we use that to protect ourselves and protect our heart. And we think, well, if I'm strong and if I don't cry, if I don't show crying, which some people see as weakness, then I can get through anything. And then one day I realized, no, that is creating a hardness around your heart. And you need to cry and let it out so you don't take that and create a barrier, a blockage. Because if it's a shield there, love can't go out. And love also can't come in. Yeah.
That reminds me of the vulnerability part. So I was having a hard time in one of our businesses, and we needed like, I don't know, $150,000 for inventory. And I didn't have it. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to, be out of money here. We're not going to be able to fulfill the shipment.
Right.
And there was this one manufacturer. And I was in my I don't cry period. And I said to myself, Liz, why don't you just go be authentic and just tell him this is the way it is. I went and I sat with him and I told him the truth. Like, this is, and it just feels so, got more into feeling, like what was I feeling?
Right.
What was my fear? And I cried. I said, I just can't believe I'm in this position.
Right.
He looked at me and goes, that's okay. I'll produce I'll manufacture your goods and just pay me when you can. I was like, huh? I mean, I've gone through all this and all I had to do is just be authentic and share. And that kind of a gift came to me like that.
Because when you're authentic, people can meet you there.
That's right.
They can't help you if they think you're like Superwoman. You're going to figure it all out. Wow, that's powerful.
So there's a lot of things like that. Like when you expose yourself, when you're actually vulnerable, when you love, when you have an open heart, When you hold in your heart what's dear to you, you can attract it. When you vibrate at a higher level, you'll bring things in at that level. Be careful about what is coming out of your mouth, because his angels might be listening and say amen. So we have to, focus on saying and putting out what it is that we want, saying the radical yes to life, so that we end up in the position of our dreams. Having a GPS. If you have a GPS and there's nothing in the where to,
right,
where are you going?
Right.
You have to have a specific place you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
How do I want to feel when I get there? How do I feel in that relationship? You may not know the guy, but you know how you want to feel.
Right.
And getting emotionally involved with that. You may not know the business, but you know where you want to express yourself and how you want to feel in that expression.
Right.
And that starts to create and define the opportunity, and the opportunity will flow to you. I would have had no idea when I started out with the American Heart Association as a fundraiser.
Right.
It was my first job. Then I became a stockbroker. And I became a stockbroker because the guy I was with, he wasn't paying attention to me, and he was trading stocks all the time. So I said, if I can't beat him, join him. Can you imagine?
Wow.
I didn't even like to read the financial pages. I
Right.
still don't like to read the financial pages.
You're so fierce. I love it. She's like,
like
oh, he's not paying. I'm going to do what he's doing.
So then I became his stockbroker, and then all his friends started trading through me. And I was like, how did I become a stockbroker? I don't even like this. So I become a successful stockbroker because I could.
Right.
And then I became an investment advisor.
Right.
And then I raised a lot of money because I had a purpose bigger than me. My dad was taken advantage of by an insurance guy, and my dad didn't have a lot of money or make a lot of money, even though he made massive contributions in the world.
Right.
And we thought we were going to lose our farm in Virginia.
Right.
So I said, somebody has to figure out our finances. And me being the oldest, I thought I could save the world and or my family. And so I got radical and became an investment advisor. And then I turned our investments around and helped us save our financial life.
Right.
And then I started thinking, well, I bet there's a lot of other people like my dad out there that are doing really great things but don't know how to manage their money.
Right.
So from then, it was a mission that I was going to save everyone else so they weren't taken advantage of by someone in the investment community. And I raised in 4 or 5 years $500 million because I had passion to change and protect other people. My purpose was bigger than me.
That's beautiful.
And then I was there going, well, I don't feel inspired anymore by this because that wasn't. And then I end up being in venture capital. So I funded a diet company. And that's when my sister moved out to LA and started working for this diet company because she was 6 years younger.
Right.
And she called me one day and she said, hey, Liz, the guy's doing cocaine and he's snorting up all your money.
What?
And there's no money and my check's bouncing. So all the money I had raised was going out the window from different investors as well as myself.
Wow.
So now it was like really another rock bottom. And I ended up, that's actually how I met my husband, because he sued the company. We removed the president, and I ended up not just getting the money back, but owning the company. And that's how I got into product development. Because now I'm like, what am I going to do with this diet company? I don't know anything about diet. I don't know anything about marketing.
Right.
I'm in the investment world. So then I switched into that, which then turned into skincare, which then turned into Rachel having, us creating our own line, never expecting to sell it anywhere. And so, which then we said, well, we're more than skin deep. I'm not like, we made this for ourselves in our own skin, but I wasn't like, oh, I want to be in skincare one day.
Right.
No, I wanted to change the world and touch people's lives and motivate and change. Hence why we wrote Get Radical, the book. But how did I start all the way over there? American Heart Association, stockbroker, investment advisor, venture capital, diet company, skincare, marketing, to where I am today. There is no direct path.
Right.
That was not like, this is where I'm going to end up. But it was saying yes.
Right.
And it was always having a purpose or passion bigger than me. that would lead me in the direction of my dreams.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much. It's like a roller coaster, like ups and downs and ups and downs.
It is not a straight line.
And so when I ask you what's the next chapter, you're basically like,
this is it.
This is it.
This is it. You're part of my next chapter, sharing what we have built with others such that it can contribute to their life and other passions and people that they're involved with. So to be able to share what we have with others that we love so that they can encourage, inspire, and uplift themselves as well as others, that's where we're going. So it's our new radical journey. And Radical RX, which will be Radical Prescriptions for a Life You Love. So it'll be skincare, and it'll be everything from nutraceuticals and, of course, the self-care part. So it really is a movement of transformation inside out.
I love it. Well, where can people find you? What are your website? And you have this book, but you have another one coming. So.
Well, you're going to be part of that next book coming.
I'm excited.
Because you're a radical sister on a mission for sure. So we're at radicalskincare.com.
Okay.
And we're at Radical Skincare. And I'm Liz_Edlich. And so you can find us there. And we're going to be doing this whole new launch. So we're really excited to incorporate all those other sisters out there to make that radical difference and take it to a whole new level.
I love it. Well, at the end, we do this little heart and we throw it out to the community. Until next time, get loved up.